Yourself a check there.
Check.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Kevin.
Check.
All right, perfect. I'm going to roll the intro. Nothing fancy, nothing serious. So what's going on today, guys? Sitting here, another episode of the podcast. Got a new guest, two new guests sitting in front of me. I got Stephanie and Kevin from Surfing in the Sixties. How you guys doing today?
Doing really good.
Doing good. Thank you. Beautiful day. Beautiful view right there.
Beautiful day, beautiful view. There was a couple waves out there. I don't know if you guys caught a little corners that maybe we could have gone out and done that instead, or tried to record a podcast while in the ocean. Actually, a local lady does that.
Unreal.
Oh, I just forgot her name, but she's a musician and she's been recording some podcasts while out there surfing. The only one I have seen of that kind so far.
That's
so
pretty cool.
Yes, the equipment looks fancy.
I think so.
To be able to handle kind of that. They got like multiple cameras from the beach, so she's pretty high end with it. Forgot her name, but I'll link it.
Who that is. Yes, I want to know who that is.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
She's Emily Zeck just came to me.
Yeah, I
know Emily?
Of course.
Great, from Vero Beach,
Yes.
Awesome local musician, sings some good songs. So
she's opening up a surf shop.
Where?
I believe in Satellite Beach.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. She's like the cowboy surfer.
Yes.
Yes.
She's got a
She's
couple
cool.
songs.
Yes.
So part of my podcast journey is finding new music. I love music. I like old music, nostalgic music, those kind of things. But that's how I found her, looking up some like local people to be able to listen to. And she's got 2 or 3 songs that have made it to my regular rotation now. So
She has a huge social media following. I do a Grumfest. I run the live heats for Grumfest, and she usually
nice.
announces with us too.
Oh, dang, cool. Well, if I will shamelessly ask if you ever get the chance to plug this podcast, I'd love to have her. I should reach out to her because I've been sharing her music with a few local people, and they're like, she's in Vero Beach? I'm like, yes, she's right here in Vero Beach.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, we just caught up real fast the first time I met you guys, and I did explain to everybody that, yes, in fact, I get nervous before these things. This group knows this. I talk about this regularly. So again, appreciate you guys coming in. So if you could just tell everybody sort of what you do at Surfing in the 60s, and maybe we start there, and then we talk about what it actually is. So what do you guys do with Surfing in the 60s?
Well, let me start a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
So Camp and I, my good buddy Camp, he said, well, let's do a surf trip. And so we planned them and kind of fizzled out because of work and family and other things. And so ultimately we said, we ought to do a surf trip that we have a serve mission attached to it. And my dad was an architect, and he had on his desk the true measure of a man is not what he's achieved, but how well he has served. And so that kind of stuck, and that's part of our logo, actually. But we crossed out served and put in surfed. Actually, put in surfed and crossed out surfed and put in served. Anyhow, little spin on it. But so we decided to do that, and so we said, well, we got to find a travel agent. And I think it was a gift from God, because what happened is we were searching for a travel agent, and Stephanie popped up, and she already did surf trips, and she was right here in Brevard County.
Nice.
And we were looking internationally, and she was right here. So ended up calling her up. And then John, who our third partner, or fourth partner, John came along. He was actually one of Camp's patients. Camp is a doctor. And so John was really good at IT. So really good at technical stuff. Camp and I had no idea how to do stuff like that. So John jumps in, Stephanie jumps in as a travel agent, and suddenly we've just got this thing going. And anyhow, the early routes are that we would go find a place where we didn't want to sleep like on the dirt or anything. We really wanted to have a good time surfing, but also serving. So we find places that had a real need in the community, as well as a decent surf break and a decent place to stay.
I like your 3 criterias: a need, a good surf break, and somewhere decent to stay. I like that. Okay. And where'd you settle on first? Where was the first trip?
First trip was El Salvador.
Oh, okay.
There's K59 is the break, and the resort is right there. It's called K59 Resort.
Okay.
Really neat spot, right on the break.
Is it a right-hand point break?
Yeah,
I think I saw some of your guys' videos there. So that's in El Salvador. It's a right-hand point break.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it actually, our first trip was sort of right after kind of all the gangsters and everything sort of settling it down. So we felt very comfortable traveling at that point. That was probably about 4 years ago. And so we brought a group of about 10 of us at our first trip. And there's an orphanage school / church just in walking distance from there. So that was our first trip. That's Hope, John Frant and his group. They're the missionaries, and we called them up and worked for them on their orphanage.
Okay.
So it was really cool. And then we did a surf contest also while we were there for the local kids.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool because we actually put it out there early so people can sign up, and so they get a little crowd going, and it's a lot of fun. Nice. And then we give them T-shirts like this one. It's got all of our. We also raise money through sponsors, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But Steph, you can talk more about the contest.
Yeah, no. So we just started bringing in all the locals. There's a kid there that we sponsor. His name is Marvin, and Marvin, basically, he was the owner of K59 Surf Resort, has owned it for 23 years. Wow. One day, this kid, Marvin, was walking in front of K59 Surf Resort. He was like 4 or 5, and the owner said he was skin and bones, super skinny, hadn't eaten in a month. And he was like, hey, come here, like, I'll feed you. Anyway, so he took him in, fed him, and basically raised him. I mean, he still lives at K59 Surf Resort. And this kid is the king of K59. Wow. I mean, he is just so special in so many ways.
Nice.
Amazing surfer. He's actually goofy foot, but I feel like he's stronger going right.
Really?
Yeah, just because he grew up surfing a right point break.
Yeah.
So he's a really great kid. But anyway, so we asked him to hey, can you get all your friends involved? We're gonna run this contest. And the first couple contests, he really helped us with everything. You know, really helped get it all going. So yeah, that's kind of where we went, and we had a lot of kids. I want to say the first contest we had 50 kids.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually a local shaper, Mad Dog Surf Shop.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bernie.
Okay. Yeah.
So Bernie Crouch, he's actually living there, and he's been going there for years and years and years. And a lot of Mad Dog boards and everything there. But we needed a sound system. So for the contest, and he went ahead and pitched in half. We pitched in half. We bought a sound system. I mean, it was really cool. It was official looking. You know, it's like we had a sound system. We had a guy that was interpreting the waves as we were going through.
Nice.
We had judges with the colored shirts. I mean, it's just really kind of sweet.
All out and official.
Yeah,
I like that.
but it made the kids feel, oh man, this is the real deal.
They were stoked.
They were really stoked.
Was that probably one of the only contests around? Or, I mean, I know they run a pro event down there in El Salvador for the last couple of years, but other than that, I mean, are there local contests for those guys? Or?
I mean, there's a lot of much larger contests.
Okay.
This one I feel is very special because it's local, and we really make it all about the local kids and not about the kids from the other breaks.
Oh, okay.
So it's very special, and they look forward to it every single year when we come back and do it.
Oh, I bet. And I'm a goofy footer as well. I'm not the best at right-handers, but I have been committed to going right more frequently. I was out in California surfing trestles in January, so I was forced to go that way. But I can relate to that a little bit. You know, us goofy footers typically only like to go left. Yeah. So yeah,
you got to go to El Salvador. It's all right point breaks.
Yeah, that will force me to get better at going backside there. And how about you guys? Do you guys surf, or have you surfed for a long time, or?
Yeah, I've been surfing since I was a little grom, and actually I have two of my boys went pro.
Oh, really?
So yeah, Niels and Noah, and then I have Abaco and Autumn, 2 girls in between the 2 boys.
Okay.
And Missy and I, we grew up surfing together. My wife, 41 or 2 years now, married.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah. So I was in that whole surfing deal, and we actually run some contests through. It's a safari club in New Smyrna Beach. It's actually the oldest surf club on the East Coast, and we potentially are the oldest surf club in America. There's some question about Huntington, but we don't want to battle with them on that.
East Coast, West Coast
Yeah,
debate.
yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
Exactly.
He's
It's like
got
a
it.
difference of a couple of months or something.
Technicalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we run a couple of contests, local contests in New Smyrna through
Nice.
the Safari Club. The Mike Martin Pro is one, and then we do a spooktacular and Seaside Fiesta. So,
Cool.
and it's all about raising money for the scholarship program for the high school in New Smyrna.
New Smyrna High?
Yep.
Okay, nice.
And we've probably raised over $200,000 over the last 40 years there as a
phenomenal.
club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Scholarship to go to college?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Mhm,
very
further
cool.
education. Yeah.
Yeah. What led to this? You mentioned your father, but what led to this desire to serve and give back? I mean, I wonder, where does that come from for someone like you?
I've been going on mission trips for a while into Peru with a couple of local buddies in New Smyrna, and we did about 13 years in Yeramoguas and in other areas in Peru. But it's basically a maternity clinic, and the mothers would return and have babies, and then there were always some issues and stuff because they were drinking a local drink made out of a yucca plant that fermented, and so there's a lot of alcohol.
While they're pregnant?
involved. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's mostly the native Indians there.
Got it.
But anyhow, so the maternity clinic actually turned into sort of an orphanage because a lot of the mothers never came back and things like that. So we kind of grew up for 13 years with these kids, and so the power of serving is amazing. You get so much more out of it. And the beauty of serving in some real areas that are very poor is that you can get a lot done without a lot of people
Capital.
getting in your way. A lot of
okay.
capital, and there's not a lot of regulations and things.
A lot of less red tape and hoops to jump through. Okay.
And it's usually it's always some sort of a construction project that we would do.
And it's so needed, and the people down there are just so appreciative that it just, and I always say there's only so many hours in the day that you can surf, especially when you're going to these like spots that are like big waves. You can only, even if you're doing 3 sessions a day, we still have 4 hours in there that we can fit to do a project.
Oh man, so you're surfing, and I did see some of your like itinerary, and I'm like, man, I feel like I would have to train to be prepared for this kind of work.
This guy right
and
here,
surfing, adding it all
this
in.
guy is a machine. He will go and he will literally stay up all night doing his architect work, and then he's the first one out surfing the waves in the morning. We do 2 sessions in the morning, breakfast in between, then we go work from usually 12 till 4, 12 till 5, and then everybody hits another session before the sun goes down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I would be exhausted. Just in California, I trained a lot of cardio. I was surfing all the time. I went out there just for 3 days, and I surfed 2 times a day, and then had to go to like 3 days of meetings. So I was trying to maximize that time, but trying to throw in, working on an orphanage or doing some sort of manual labor, I was just sitting in meetings. So Kevin, what's the secret? How do you stay healthy, fit, and energized? It's a subject we talk about here, honestly, quite regularly. It's something that interests me. I'm going to be 37 at the end of this month. I'm trying to figure out how to age and continue to do the things that I enjoy, and that is surfing and moving my body and those kind of things. So what's the answer? What's the secret?
I think it's having kids and, just keeping up with the kids and having a loving wife and, that. I don't know. I'm 65 and so and I'm still going strong. I love it, but I do a lot of work too. It's my own business, so I have to keep work going as well.
Sure.
But I think these trips really, they energize you. You're thinking about early before you're going, and there's some kind of a metabolism going inside of you at that point that you're getting psyched up for it. I don't exercise really.
Okay.
I'm not a real fan of yoga, but I should be doing some other things.
we do a lot of yoga on our trips. We try to fit that in, and he's
I think
always
I saw
like,
that. Yeah.
he complains so much, but yet he loves it so much.
Oh, they kill you.
It's hard. It is
yeah.
very hard. I've only done it once. I had a lady on here, shout out Maureen, who teaches. She's like a 200-hour certified yoga instructor. She's been over to like India, and she's got a lot of certifications certifications and accreditations based off of that. But she took me through one activity, and at this point, I'm like, all right, this is way hard. I get why people do it though, but flexibility is not my thing. But I'd like it to be as I keep getting older and wanting to keep surfing and those kind of things. So no exercise, huh? No,
not really. No,
really, just surf and move.
I used to do about 100 push-ups every time I showered, which is kind of a little thing, but I haven't done that in a while. So. But I will say, I think surfing, it's kind of like swimming in a sense, but you're using muscles and your posture and things that you don't do with normal gym work or weights or whatever, running. Yeah. So I think it's a better long-range kind of a exercise for getting, and there's some flexibility in there and everything else, but yoga still kills me. I can't make those moves.
Yes. No, some of those moves are advanced, level for sure. Yeah, and do you practice yoga, or do you get in there with them, or?
Well, no, on the trips I'll do the yoga, but I'm more the one that's like coordinating. I'm a photographer, so I do a lot of surf photography, videography and stuff like that.
And live heats.
Live heats. I do a lot of like running surf contests. And
nice.
I'm kind of like the one behind that does, all that kind of stuff.
The one that keeps it all together, is that what you're saying?
And he's the one, like when we do the projects, he coordinates all the projects. He's an architect, so he's definitely the guy who's like, okay, we need this. So and I feel like each of us brings something really important to the team. Like he said, like John with doing all the communications, all the networking, that kind of stuff. He's really strong with computers. And then Camp, obviously he's a doctor, so he brings so much to the table with how he is. He's very black and white. He's very good with creating documents and keeping us very structured. So I feel like the four of us together, we're so unique, but yet we together, the four of us, I think
the dream team.
It's a great combination.
It really is.
Yeah. And how did you all meet? Just like randomly or through?
Yeah, Camp and I have known each other for years.
Okay.
I designed or did a renovation to their first house and then their second house in New Smyrna. But it really just happened where Camp and I wanted to travel. We found Stephanie, we found John, and Stephanie and John knew a band. Were connected with
one of my best friends, she's a singer in a band, and he goes and they're really close as well. And so when he was trying to find a travel agent, she's like, oh, my friend Stephanie. I had literally just gotten into doing trips. I was an event planner. I worked with a lot of different companies doing like large scale events, and then COVID happened and I had huge events on the books. And when COVID happened, I was like, well, what am I going to do? And then a couple guys in the surf industry were like, well, hey, like I've got these trips. People are going to the Dominican Republic and there was no travel restrictions going there. The only rule was that you had to do a COVID test to go back into the U.S. So I did about, I want to say like 3 or 4 trips down to the Dominican, like in the peak of COVID.
Wow.
And then started doing, and then I did one trip to El Salvador before I met them. So I'd only done a few trips. And sort of like kind of laid the groundwork for how the trips were going to work, like where we were going to stay, who we were going to work with. I'd kind of figured out, like in El Salvador, I'd figured out, the orphanage, and I'd already kind of done a little bit of work with them. But when I met them, it was like everything kind of came together and just this really, it was cool how it all lined up. Like it was all just,
Do you subscribe of the idea of things are supposed to happen?
Yes, of course.
You too? Do you subscribe to that idea?
Yeah, I like to be able to go with the flow because right now,
we're flowing. We're flowing. Yeah. I go back and forth on that one, and it seems like an interesting concept, and maybe that is how it is. But it seems like in this scenario, that was almost perfect. Almost meant to be in that type of environment.
Our team is amazing. The partners that are in this team, it came together, and you just said, we're here we have a purpose now.
Yeah.
So it really made sense. Yeah. And there's other things we do, like having camp. So now we do medical clinics on our trips.
Okay. What kind of doctor is he? I don't know if I caught that.
He does
just general
doctor. Okay, very cool.
But it's great because we have people on our trips that get injured all the time. I mean, it's crazy. He had
surfing or working or
just
both.
A little bit of everything. I mean, unfortunately, we had a lady on the last trip. She got bit in the back of the leg by a dog.
Oh no.
I mean, stepping on sea urchins. I mean, we've had a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So it's good to have him for that purpose too.
He's so
for
handy.
The medic. Nice. Very cool. And he lives up in New Smyrna area as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And surfs too. I think I saw some videos and pictures of him surfing. So
he's an incredible surfer. I remember one of the first trips we did to El Salvador, and I was like, this guy, like, he's not really going to like charge. And it was one day, I want to say it was like 8 to 10 feet. It was pumping. And I see him on the rocks because like half of the year there's big cobblestone rocks and like people roll their ankles all the time. I see him walking out. I'm like, there's no way he's going out there right now. Like, no way. He charged. And like he did amazing. It was really cool to watch.
And what's he riding? Longboards or what's he on? Do you guys know?
It's not
Curious.
full. It's not.
Cam's probably on about a 6'8".
Oh, okay. So that's like mid-length level. Yeah. Okay. Very
and then,
cool.
John's on a longboard.
Yeah.
I'm on a shortboard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some. I don't know. I grew up thinking that I nothing against longboarders because I love longboarding as a fun thing to do.
Sure.
It would probably because you got to turn turtle and things like that on big waves, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
But we grew up with a group called the Possum Pack.
The Possum Pack.
The Possum Pack, a bunch of surfers, skaters.
Is this in New Smyrna? Or?
Yeah, my best buddies I grew up with.
So you all running people out of the inlet, or the Possum Pack controlling the local break, or is it like that?
Yes.
Well, we had a little surf shop called
Schweizer family, watch out.
Nice.
Summer Breeze Surf Shop is kind of our hangout, But
okay.
We would say friends don't let friends ride longboards, and it was kind of like. Back then it was funny, but now it's like, oh, that's kind of mean. But,
In hindsight, sure. There's a lot of like sort of stigmas like that in surfing. Shortboarders versus longboarders. I had a guy on the other day, Gerard, who's kind of a pioneer in the stand-up paddle surfing space. And one of the things I asked him was like, are we allowed to talk to each other? Like, can we be friends and actually communicate about surfing? And John Hughes, who runs the Florida Surf Museum here, he's been on and he talked a lot about, surfing is surfing, whether you're out there riding on your belly or on a boogie board for that matter or whatever. As long as you're out there experiencing the ocean, I think we can all sort of connect on that. But I have some of those built into me, those stigmas. The shortboards, I've never actually even been on a longboard because of that idea. I've transitioned to twin fins primarily. Those are my two twinnies out there. And then I did get a mid-length, that 7.0, to be able to ride anything on. So I think some of those stigmas are built into me, and I'm trying to let that go. If that makes sense.
I got a buddy, Kelly Richards. He's the Village Surf Shop up in South Carolina. And we're surfing, and I was on like a 5'8" or something silly, and I couldn't get into the wave sometimes. He goes, "I'm gonna make you what he called it, an age appropriate board."
Age appropriate.
Yeah. So I think it's a 6'1", but it's still,
Yes.
I call it short.
I don't think there's a lot of you said 65-year-old people riding 6'1" 3-fin. You're riding a thruster.
It's a thruster. Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of people that you could put in that bucket.
And he charges. Like,
nice.
I was talking about camp, but this one too.
Charges too.
Charges.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you make it to the bottom and you don't get crushed, it's really nice,
Yeah.
It's fun because as you get older, one good wave, one good maneuver, whatever that day, that surf session, and you're good,
Yeah.
No matter how many times you don't make it.
It's just the one wave is all you need.
One good one, you're back in the rhythm, So.
Nice. Yeah, I'm finding to the point as I keep aging that the big wave thing doesn't appeal to me as much anymore. I used to chase hurricanes all up and down from South Beach to Jacksonville, and been some heavy stuff just from a Florida standpoint. Been out to Costa Rica, obviously California. Done some surfing down in like Puerto Rico too. That's when you said sea urchins. That's exactly what it made me think of is getting in them down there. But yeah, I avoid some of the big stuff these days and just more look to get out there and catch a couple nice ones, if you will. So you guys got a trip coming up in February, right?
20th. Yep.
So what's the goal there? I mean, obviously we talked about trying to get more people to sign up. Shout out, sign up, come help, right? It's in February. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
To El Salvador.
What's the goal in El Salvador? What are you guys working on down there?
We haven't selected the project yet. We usually do that about this time, but we'll figure that out. Right now they're building it's like a men's recovery center. They've got a women's recovery center, and they've got an orphanage. So there's so many different projects. I think right now they have about 20 guys at the men's recovery center, and they just purchased about 4 acres, I believe, of land for this women's center. And basically what they do, they go into the streets of El Salvador and they find people, and they say, hey, do you want a different life? And they give them the opportunity to come, and they have to be sober. They they have to get clean, and they live and they do life together, and
Wow. And they just cut a lot of their expenses out, things they don't have to worry about. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Is El Salvador safe? Someone mentioned gangs and the gangs moving out of there, but is it relatively safe to be down there? Is that a weird question to ask?
No, I can actually talk about this a lot, because I remember when I first started doing trips down there, and everybody said to me, like, are you crazy, El Salvador? And I think that was maybe like 5 years ago. Anyway, but the owner of K59 Resort, I said, so have you ever had any safety issues? And he said, Stephanie, I've been here for 23 years and I've never had one single issue. And I said, wow, well, that sounds great. But I know just like 2 years ago, further south, I want to say, there was like one of the largest gang killing days in a very long time. But it's very more localized. I think it's between the gangs. But they have a new president there, and he's just been incredible for the country.
Okay.
And he's been locking up a lot of gang members, and he does a lot of like videos on social media of like the gang, the people that he's like got in the jails. And he does these crazy videos. He shows videos of like his guys like going in and finding gang members and putting them in jail. And if you ask any of the locals there, they will tell you that they are in love with the president. He's the greatest guy, because now people are traveling there. He's made it a surf destination. He's brought so many like large important surf. WSL does an event there. A lot of big contests are now being run in El Salvador. So
that's very cool. Are they voted in El Salvador? I mean, I'm not sure on that one.
I think so.
Okay.
I believe so.
I'm just curious. A friend of mine actually mentioned that to me recently about El Salvador, that the president came in, started cleaning some things up, and just in passing, that's interesting that I didn't even connect those two on that. Okay, so it's safe to go down there. No instances, no issues, other than watch out for sea urchins, and you might get beat up doing yoga. That's what I'm gathering here so far.
Definitely K59. I think it's very safe.
Nice. And guys, sorry if you catch this feedback. Sounds like someone is drilling maybe downstairs. Maybe they're working on the door. So apologize. Don't give me any shit about the drilling noise in the audio. So, and then the fundraiser. What's the fundraiser in New Smyrna that's coming up?
So if I'm going to stand up.
Of course.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Show my shirt.
Yes.
Let's see if this works. I don't know if the camera can see it.
What is it? Cabaret?
Yeah, Cabarete.
Cabarete. And what's...
So,
go ahead.
That's in the Dominican Republic.
Pull that mic up, too, if you can. You can move that. Yeah.
Yep.
I will post that picture, too, so people can see.
And that's in the DR. Nice. Cabarete is where we surf. And with Jorge is the surf zone where we hang out at it.
Beautiful.
Carambola.
Carambola.
And that's in the DR?
Is a surf house.
That's in the DR.
Okay.
Yep.
But anyhow, it's all the sponsors back here.
Nice.
And we kind of, every time we do a trip, we put out the word. It's mostly locals in New Smyrna and some around here. But we really put out the word, and we work hard at fundraising. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it does work out. Yeah. And we've been blessed with people that kind of get the vision of what we're doing, and they help us make it happen. And Red Dog Surf Shop in New Smyrna Beach is always helping us out. We do swag bags for the kids. They're in the contest, so they get a shirt and wax and a bunch of little things stickers and stuff we put in the swag bags. These guys, a lot of them don't have hardly anything, and then to get this stuff, they're just like, whoa, this is so cool. And then as the years go by, we see people wearing these shirts, in the community and stuff.
Very cool.
That's always a cool thing.
Nice.
And then on the shirt, this is Alejandro on the back of this shirt. We put the local surfer and we haven't talked about that, but we sponsor 2 kids in each place. 2 and maybe 3 sometimes. And sometimes we try to get a boy and a girl. But we got at least a boy and a girl in El Salvador, and we got about 3 guys in the DR that we sponsor, and 2 in
one in Costa Rica.
or 1 in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And sponsor like boards,
So,
gear, like what are we talking?
Basically, each month we send them $50. That money's
Okay.
supposed to contribute towards like them pursuing their professional surfing career. I think Kevin, I think we all agree. You go down there, you see so much talent. You know, you see these kids and they surf, you know, incredible breaks every single day. They have so much talent, and yet half the time they have like broken boards and they just don't have the equipment. And so personally, I know it's always bothered me. I see in the surfing communities around here, these kids are so blessed and they travel everywhere and they're given surfboards every single day. And, you know, and then I see these other kids and it just bothers me so much. Like, why don't they have the same opportunity? So it was really great when we all started working together and, you know, I'm not sure who came up with the idea, but it was like, let's just start sponsoring some of these kids. And so we pick kids that are talented at surfing, yes, but are also maybe don't have the means to pursue their career.
Right.
So the first 2 kids that we sponsored, Marvin and Julissa in El Salvador, they're both #1 in El Salvador.
Wow.
And Marvin just won a contest on Sunday. He got first place for 18 open men's, I guess. So he was so stoked on that. And then Julissa, she's like they are so proud of her in that country. She's 17 years old and she's just killing it right now.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And where did that drive for you come from? Can you put a finger on, you know, where that came from in terms of wanting to help and be involved in something like that? Or I'm just curious that hearing you say that so passionately, I just wonder where that comes from.
I used to work in California, and I used to have a lot of like Latin American people that worked for me, and the culture just kind of always was really special to me. They always made me feel like family. They always brought me food. They always took care of me, and they were always sort of my hardest workers. So I've always just had a special place in my heart for that community in general. So
interesting. I can relate to that. I've worked in Miami for many years, and a lot of those guys and ladies still today, you know, I'm with a different corporation now, but they some of the best people, you know, and just like you said, always feeding you, always giving you. They got me hooked on Cuban coffee. So if anyone's listening, because of you, I must drink small amounts of coffee in heavy doses. Yes. Or the colada is the one that they bring around like in a little shot glass. So I remember coming to one of my first places down there and they're all passing this around. I'm like, what are you guys drinking? I remember hitting that. And then some guys would drink like the whole thing like that.
Oh my
gosh. Make my heart hurt just thinking about it. Thinking about it. Well, very cool. Very cool. So the fundraiser, when is that? Oh, sorry. No, you're good. So when's the fundraiser?
Fundraiser is February 1st.
February 1st.
Yeah,
okay.
at the New Smyrna Beach Yacht Club.
Nice. New Smyrna Beach Yacht Club. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
And then we use it. We tell a lot of stories. I think one of the coolest things about what we do is just the stories, the people we meet, the connections that we make. I mean, pretty much every day I Google Translate a lot. I talk to our kids, like, you know, they keep me updated on what they're doing, where they're, you know, what projects they're working on and all that kind of stuff. So we tell the stories about the kids. We tell the stories about the projects and the people that we meet. And it's really special. Yeah,
Camp sent like some post-trip story or something. I was reading through it. So he kind of puts that kind of stuff together. I was like, that's amazing. That's awesome.
He does amazing with the newsletter.
The newsletter. That's what it was.
He spends so much time on that.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Man, and I wanted to ask you about New Smyrna. So was that your heart out? Was that somebody calling you to see where you're at? Okay.
Don't know.
Just making sure. We're at 34 minutes here. But so New Smyrna is obviously known, a lot of people, for a good wave, by the way, but also the shark bite capital of the world. Well, what's your take on New Smyrna and sharks? And, you know, have you been bitten and what have you seen and those kind of things? I'm sure you get that a lot. But
yeah. No, I've been surfing the inlet since I was a kid, and I've been bumped a couple times, and I've actually been on waves with clear water, and there's 40, 50 little nurse sharks kind of cruising with you, or other sharks. But you know, you just kind of, if it gets dark, you start smelling dead fish or whatever, you just get out of the water. But you know, it is kind of a weird zone right there at the inlet. Got a lot of attacks, but you know, it's nothing like a great white or bull sharks or anything.
Oh, for sure.
Which is good because, I mean, they're mostly, you know, smaller bites, but it's not fun, obviously. And I've had 2 or 3 really good buddies get bit, and back in the day, I had a buddy, Chris Pulver, was one of the guys that actually traveled with us in one of the surfing Sixties trips. He got his finger taken off by a bluefish, actually.
Oh,
so,
dang!
Bluefish?
Really?
Wow, they do have sharp teeth.
So and that was back in the day. But and it's funny because New Smyrna, back in the day, there was a big sign over the beginning of the entrance into the city that said "World's Safest Bathing Beach." Yeah,
The safest bathing beach.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
That's
funny.
hilarious.
it's had a little flip on that. But our inlet is so consistent.
Yes.
Always fun.
Yeah.
And, there's typically a good wave there, depending on the sandbars and stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
And his two sons, he's not going to brag, but his sons are just the most
Shred.
incredible. Yeah, Noah, he's got the most incredible flow you've ever seen. And
nice.
then Nils, he's a big wave surfer. He lives half the time down in Mexico and just rides
man.
like huge barrels.
Oh, jeez.
And one time we were in the Dominican and Nils came with us. And there's this one break that we go to. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Yeah, it's like Hubbard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a barrel break. Mignonero, maybe. Anyway, and it just barrels for days. And I remember that day, like Nils caught like 22 barrels.
Oh my God.
I mean, just long barrels. It was really cool.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That's been on my list too down there. El Salvador, really the first exposure to me for me was the WSL event. I'm like, man, like where's this wave been for forever?
Right,
but it makes
yeah.
sense that it wasn't, as easily accessible, or maybe there was concerns about them going down there. But I would agree on that New Smyrna piece. I've been up there a few times. My son is 12 now, and he's been surfing since he was 2. And my daughter will be 10 on the 15th. She's been surfing since she was 2 also. So they're out there swimming first and surfing right away. So we go up there from time to time. But who got bit? Gnarly Charlie, if you know him, he got bit. Yeah, I saw that recently. A buddy of mine got bit. But I always say the same thing when people bring up sharks. It's their ocean. You're just playing in there. But inlets open up a really nice opportunity for them to hunt a little bit easier, I think, because they can pin things up against obviously some of that structure. So it makes a good wave and it makes a good hunting spot for them. So anytime you do that, it's going to leave you open to some risk. But,
for sure.
Yep. And I grew up surfing Sebastian Inlet.
Okay.
So if you're familiar down there, my grandfather owned the Spanish house. So just to the north of it, that house
Your
there.
grandfather owned Spanish house? The Spanish house?
Yeah, since
That's
the
so
60s.
cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. We sold. They sold it off. He died when he was 94, and then they sold it off a few years back. But yeah, we
That
got to.
break is so special.
Oh my God, I
So
have
special.
been in some heavy stuff on
Yeah.
that sandbar, broken a board or two there. But my kids grew up staying there, and obviously, when COVID hit was our last trip there. No one really knew what was going on, so we kind of. I have like a 70-person family that lives over here in Orlando, so it was a big group of us. So we tried to keep some of our distance, and even from. So we went to the Spanish house and lived there. Me and my kids and my wife for maybe a whole month during COVID. So that was some of the best times we had, just surfing and living there and eating fish right from the beach, and just I would live that way permanently if that was a little bit, not with the COVID stuff, not saying that, just from the lack of responsibility, I guess. That's probably
totally
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Cool.
On these trips when we travel, the food is always amazing, and that's a really plus out of it. And it's the unprocessed stuff. It's all natural. It's, and the chefs are doing it's just amazing food, and that's part of when you get back, that energy levels up because you've been eating really, really well for two for a week, for 3 meals a week and everything.
Out
so
in
3 meals
nature
a
all
day.
day.
Yeah, I mean, between surfing and working and eating well, and just loving on the kids and stuff. It's just a really good vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Probably a good reset too for people that don't get to do that very often. Get to go down there, break from processed food, break from our normal day in, day out, and just do something different. That sounds amazing. So sign up, people. You hear that? Let's get some trips going and do some serving. What was the
surf and serve?
Surf and serve.
Yes.
Surf and serve. Yes.
And we also do Costa Rica, Santa Teresa, Costa Rica.
Okay.
And it's an abused women and children shelter that we work with there, and that's super exciting. It's Casa de Sonia is the orphanage, and she is a saint on earth. She's an amazing lady. These kids love her. There's just some power that you see in her, a glow that you see in her that's really impressive. So we do that. And in the DR, it's an abused or a street kids kind of a
Niños de la Luz.
Yeah, Niños de la Luz, street kids, boys that we work with down there. Yeah. And our mission is to sort of try and get back there. We go to the same places every year, so we create that kind of that relationship, build that up with the locals and the people that serve us when we're there in terms of the places we stay and stuff. Nice. And so we have a lot of fun doing it. We kind of do things that I think we just it builds up a community with us within the middle of it in a sense that we feel like we're part of a bigger picture at that point.
Very cool.
I think the locals they really appreciate us being there, and we're not there to, be. I don't know. We're just mixing in,
Yeah.
We're not standing out trying to do
We're
anything
just kind
weird.
of doing life with them.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
Doing life with them. Yeah. You're not, and this is not in a negative way, but you're not like preaching to them or what some other groups may come down there to do. I mean, is that what you're saying as far as just like living life, or just?
Our gospel, I guess, what you might call it, in my opinion, is our actions.
Okay.
And if they see us working hard, and we are somewhat of a faith-based organization, but it's not as if we do things that I think people know our hearts are with helping them, and it's probably through what we internalize as our God is giving us the ability to make their lives better. And we talk a little bit about some things, but it's not like we're I don't know. We're very casual about it.
Okay. Living life with them. I like how you put that. And there, like I like what you said too about your actions. You're there not just throwing a bunch of money around. You're there working. You're there helping them and trying to give them a better life, which probably some people don't get that very often down in those environments. I would imagine. So you're taking like 3 trips a year. Then you're going to all those places every year. Dang.
I think Kevin's doing a couple extra because we started. There's another group, Trinity Fitness, and they just did a trip. And he went down with them. We're trying to get more groups so that we can maybe tackle more places each year and add more trips, but with other people also carrying the weight of the work that we're doing.
Sure. And companies are signing up for that and getting on board, or some organizations are like.
Right now, it's just Trinity Fitness.
Okay.
But they just actually reached out to me today. They want to do another trip again in Thanksgiving of next year. They had a great time. So,
they were great. Because it's a gym, right?
Right.
So they're strong.
They're all,
and we're working. We're this last time in November. We're working at the men's rehab center. And there's these huge boulders that we're trying to chip through and take out and stuff. And these guys are going at it. It was really fun.
Nice.
And they got them. They got both of them.
Yep.
I definitely would need to train and be prepared for this type of surfing and manual labor. But this sounds exciting. I would love to be a part of this somehow. I don't know if I can make February, but I want to get in on one of these trips. I think that would be fun. As my son keeps getting older too and more comfortable and heavier waves and stuff, being better at duck diving and things. We've been talking about where we want to go, what type of trips we want to do. But I think that would be a fun one for him to be a part of as well. So.
El Salvador is good in February because peak season is May through October.
Peak wave season?
Peak meaning it's usually I would say it averages 8 to 10 feet.
Oh my.
During those months.
Okay.
In the rest of the months, there's sand on the beach. Like the rocks all get covered up, and so it's really nice. Like November through March, it's 3 to 4, 4 to 6. It's nice.
That seems more my speed than 8 to 10. I'm kind of avoiding that stuff a little more these days, but nice. Well, where can people find you? What's the best place to look you guys up? Those kind of things.
Surfinginthesixties.com has our schedule, our calendar. We've got an Instagram page. We've got a Facebook page, so everything can be found on there.
Perfect. And I'll link all that stuff below. Go ahead.
And the fundraiser is February 1st.
February 1st.
Coming up, and it's at the New Smyrna Yacht Club.
Okay. Perfect.
And you can buy tickets online, and it's a lot of fun. We have an auction, a live auction, and a silent auction.
Nice.
And we have a little presentation that we do and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. This was awesome to get to connect and meet with you. I think your guys' cause is amazing, and your passion towards it just comes across very genuine, which I love those kind of people that have genuine things that they're into and that they're out there doing. So, and it has to do with surfing, which I love as well. So appreciate you guys coming in, and I'd love to have more conversations or figure out how I can get involved. And then I'll check into that fundraiser, check my schedule, see where I'm at. But I'd love to come up, buy a couple tickets for that, and bring some people up there for that as well. So perfect. Anything else before we wrap it up? Y'all did great.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, piece of cake, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
No.